Welcome to the guest lounge on the Willie J Show on Gospel City 24/7. Be entertained, informed, and edified on Saturday morning's talk radio show, the Willie J Show on Gospel City 24/7. And now, and now, and now, with today's guest, here is the man himself, Mr. Willie J.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the guest lounge right here on Gospel City 24/7. It's the Willie J Show, and as is usual at this time of the morning, we have a very special guest for you in the guest room. And I am going to give you the person's name, and I'm sure you won't know who it is until I give you her stage name. She is Mrs. Michelle Harrison Timmel. And I know none of you know who that is, but it's the young lady that calls herself Shelly Thunder, and she's here to thunder with us this morning. Welcome to the show, Shelly.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you. It's wonderful. And we will be chit-chatting together about you and your music. So we will start off by asking you to tell us a little bit about where in Jamaica you hail from and what was life like as a child growing up in Jamaica.
Okay, so I grew up in Harborview, which is in Kingston. It's that first community you get to when you leave directly from the airport. I know that Port Royal is to the right, but if you just leave the airport, go heading to Kingston, that was that first community, Harborview.
Yes.
That's where I spent most of my years. I left there at about 14. At 13, I went to live in Norbrook, which is, I guess, Manapak, if you know Uptown by Manapak area or Constant Spring Road.
Yes.
And you go up into the hills in Norbrook. That's where I spent the last couple of years. And then I came to America when I was 15.
When you were 15?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, actually, all of your music career is while you were in the States, your music career.
Yes, all my songs were when absolutely.
Okay. So what was life like growing up in Harborview and on to?
I had a great childhood, actually. I just had a great childhood. My dad and, we would spend weekends at Port Royal. Sometimes we got to Manchini, which is in Portland. I spent summers in New York when I was about 11, 12, 13, those years before I lived here. Harborview was a very quiet area at the time, so I'm not saying it's not, everybody doesn't know everybody now, but when I was growing up there, it was quiet, so everybody knew everybody. We went to pretty much one bunch of high schools, which was KC, Camperdown, George's, Excelsior. I went to Excelsior.
Yes.
And it was quiet and enjoyable.
Okay, so where did your granny come into your life? Because there's this song I love very much. That speaks.
Dad and my mom separated.
Yes.
A couple years after my mom went to America, and that's how we got to start coming here.
Okay.
And I lived with my grandmother first before I got to Norbrook to live with Daddy. I lived with my grandmother.
Okay. All right. Yes. So you grew up, you lived in Harbor View, then you went on to Norbrook, and then you moved to New York. What was life like for you? Or what was it like, this Jamaican girl moving to New York when you just got there? What was things like for you?
Well, see, the thing about it, it's almost like "Simi, come live with me" sort of a thing. So you come for the holidays, you shop, you buy your candy, you buy your backpack and everything you want to go back to school with,
Yes.
and go home.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Summer holiday, you go and you see the different tourist attractions. Go to the Empire State Building, blah blah blah. But then when you grow up a certain way, like for example, we had a helper. The only thing I was responsible for washing was my uniform and my underwear.
Yes.
All of a sudden, you have to go to the laundromat whether it's snow or not.
Yes.
You have to. I didn't have in America. What happens? I don't know what's happening now. I've left high school years ago, but to be on time, you have to be at school at a certain time. However, they have different classes. So first period, I didn't have a first period class, which meant I wasn't supposed to be in the building at first period.
Okay.
But in order to get to class in time for my first class, which was second period, I had to get there earlier. So in the winter, I'd be outside waiting for the bell to ring.
Oh boy.
So I could get into school.
Yes.
And I would be free. I was swimming since I was, I don't know how old, My mom, I remember we spent an entire summer at Gunboat Beach, and she had paid the lifeguards to teach us to swim. And then Daddy kind of got us into a swimming class at St. Hugh's every Saturday. They had this swimming thing. So there's no way I should have failed swimming. But because it was my first class for the day, and I was fresh outside being cold, most time I don't even go no swimming class or just no matter. I was, So to make a long story short, it was a very huge adjustment for me. And I rebelled at every chance I got.
Okay.
I
Yes.
made my parents pay for letting me be stuck here. I absolutely did.
Okay. Yes. So, we realized that you got into music before you became a Christian as a secular artist. How did that come to pass? How did, after leaving school, before we even touch that, when you left school, what career did you think of going into?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't leave school when I left school, but let me.
Yes.
So I went to high school in the Bronx. I went to Excelsior in Jamaica. And I went to Harriet Truman in Co-op City in the Bronx. And while in high school, I just, as I said, I was rebelling. So I would cut school and get high behind the school and all kind of drama. And then I dropped out of high school because I was really bored. Because we were I don't think we understand. I don't know about now, but we're very advanced, in Jamaica in terms of our secondary education.
Yeah.
And I was bored out of my mind. They put me back one grade, even after I brought my transcript. So I just was so bored. And then I remember I spelled check CHEQUE, and the teacher said it wrong. It was just the perfect storm,
Yes.
So I dropped out of high school, and then I decided to visit college. So there's an examination you can take to go straight to college.
Yes.
And of course, I went to Excelsior. So here we go. I can take that in my sleep. So I took the exam and I went to college. And I always say I visited college because then I did discover music in terms of DJing. So I dropped out of college and went to go see the world.
Yes.
I did go back to college a couple of years ago, and I finished grad and undergrad. But back then, when I was younger, I just dropped out of college and got the music.
Yes. Okay, very interesting. So I see a lot of the things that you sing about, especially in that song with your grandmother, were really actual things that happened.
Oh yeah, it was. I came. And mommy liked to tease me and tell me that my grandmother died thinking I'm a buto.
Oh,
So we always have a little family joke about that, you know? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, what were some of the songs you did in your secular career?
Well, I mean, there is a plethora of them. There's 85 Vision. That was huge in Jamaica, especially. Barry G loved that one. There was cool. Break Up to Make Up, which Jamaicans tend to call it Walk Out of My House. I got a video because I signed to Island Records. And Coop was the largest one that crossed over to the American, circle. And yeah, there's a lot of them. I had a lot of songs.
Okay. Now, I've noticed in all of your songs you have maintained your identity as a Jamaican. Some persons go away and they get lost in the American system. They want to be...
They go away and they what?
Get lost in the American system, their identity, they lose their identity.
Yeah.
What kept you as Jamaican as you showed yourself in your music? What being there in a different culture? What caused you to maintain
I don't know what kept me per se, because it's not like my mother had a lot of friends that are Jamaican and would play music or hang out on a weekend. Or it probably has to do, and maybe not because there are other children that came at that time that act more American, but we really wanted to identify and keep that identity, because when you're few in a sea of many,
yes,
you want to stand out. And Jamaicans, we like to stand out. We don't really follow the crowd, so to speak. When I see somebody from Jamaica acting like another island, it kind of says, wow, people are usually emulating us as opposed to the other way around. So, but in terms of, I don't know. I just didn't. I didn't think I needed to. I just didn't. I don't know. I can't give you a real valid reason as I made up my mind. It just happened that way, that I loved being who I was. I was confident and comfortable in my own skin, and that's how it is.
Yes, and we find that when Jamaicans stand out, the other cultures gravitate to us. They love what they see. Exactly. So I really find it strange when we emulate somebody else, because it's usually the other way around. Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. Okay, how did you
I end up
becoming a Christian? You are in the secular music biz and doing your thing. What caused the change?
Mm-hmm. And that's another, well, I know because I know it's Jehovah, but in terms of no, I don't know. What happened is I had a hit record. I was signed to a label. But I started going to clubs and I would start to get very bored. I would yawn. I would wonder why. What's the point? Why am I here?
Yes.
I'm going to see the same people every week. What that little difference? If they have another woman, different woman last week, like really? Literally, I'd have these conversations with myself.
Yes.
And then I just stopped, and then still don't have an explanation. I just didn't feel like it. And it wasn't one of my friends, actually my children's aunt, invited me to a church in Brooklyn.
Yes.
The pastor preached, I cried, and there you go. I didn't go back into the secular world or into the world period.
Okay. Having gotten saved now, how did that affect your secular music business? What did your producers and managers have to say?
I just stopped.
Okay.
Yeah, I just stopped. I just stopped and I put on. I remember now I had dropped out of college, so I just put on a suit one day and get a briefcase and go up to the White Plains area of New York.
Yes.
And look for a job.
Okay.
And I looked for a job. I started as a temp. You know, you have these temporary agencies that would send you on these jobs. So I did a lot of administrative and clerical jobs.
Yes.
And then I stumbled into human resources. And I've been in human resources for 20-something years.
Okay. But didn't you get any call in from the secular world wanting you back? What happened to your music? Are you done?
Yeah, that still happens all the time.
Okay.
Like, I'm sure I'm positive if I wanted to tour Europe, no, I could. I still have people asking me to come to Europe. And for some reason, there has been a huge interest in my music from Hispanic countries, Costa Rica, and I believe, Argentina. It's kind of weird.
Yes.
So, yeah, I do get calls to do music still.
Okay. Well, actually, for the secular music, you still get.
Yeah. I get calls.
Okay. So now, when you got saved, you said you got a 9 to 5, so to speak. So you had given the music a little break. How did it? How did the gospel part of it? How did the gospel part of it get started?
Oh, so I got more comfortable. It was years. It took years, about 9 years before I even thought about music again. At that time, Papa Sano had gotten saved a couple years after I did, and he had started doing music. And I went to Jamaica and, hung out with my old friends, which was now saved Danny Brownie from Main Street Records. So that opened the door for me to start recording again, and I did. And I started doing concerts at churches, etc. And I was preaching for years. I got ordained as a pastor in 2005. So the music thing, it's there, and I do it, and I'm sitting on an album now. I know everybody, is waiting for me to release it, and I'm, figuring out how to release it now. But yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you about that album, but let us step back to how you got into ministry and got to be ordained as a pastor. What happened during the time, I assume, during the time you were out of music, and what sort of development took place in your Christian life? Yeah,
so as again I said, it was years. It was about 9 years. I would just be in church, in the Word. You do little women ministries here. You revivals. The whole church have revivals and convocation, that kind of stuff. So I would preach at different churches, and if there's a women's kind of revival or whatever it was. So it was years. I changed churches about 10 years in. And then I started preaching at their church. That pastor was a best friend of one of my older brothers.
Okay.
So he knew me from when I was younger, and I decided to join his church, and it was interesting. I joined the church. I remember like the mid-year, somewhere, end of the year, and then he told me that he wanted me to preach on New Year's Eve. I'm like, you have got to be kidding! Nobody gives up their church at New Year's Eve. Yes. Everybody who don't come church the whole year
comes at that time.
And then so I'm like, what? And then he gave me the following Good Friday. And I don't know if that's solidified in his mind. And about 4 years later, he ordained me as a pastor. We're also missionaries. I'm also a missionary I've gone to Cambodia and Thailand, which is in Asia, numerous times on mission trips.
Okay.
And the jungles and stuff like that. Yeah.
So what do you do when you go on those mission trips?
Well, we actually, especially in Cambodia, we bust I do the women, and the another minister does, shares that with me sometimes.
Yes.
My pastor does the men, and we'll bust the women in from the jungle and put them up for days.
Yes.
And we have these sessions morning and evening. I have an interpreter. My pastor, he preaches also to the men, but he also, would have these meetings where he would show them how to have wells and, other things that could help them sustain themselves, so to speak.
Yes.
Right. So that's what we did. We went to feed people. That was crazy. When I fed children, we went up to a home a couple of times, and that was a pastor who invited us to begin with to speak to women who were prostitutes,
Yes.
And they had rescued them from the streets. It was interesting the second time we went back, because the first set we saw the year before looked totally different now when we got back. And you could see the difference between them and the ones that were just coming in. I would go, wow, look at God.
Yes, yes.
The children would just, I've seen children get food, and what happened is you give them a container. It's like I'm going to show my age. Well, you probably guessed my age anyway, because I said I left there years ago. But I got the tail end of Jamaica where they would deliver milk. You remember when the tail end, I remember vaguely the little milk man with the jugs in the back.
Yes.
And I also remember this lunch pail that had different tiers, like it was 3 tiers or so.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have the rice in one and the meat in one and so on.
Yes.
So what happens, they would give them these containers, and in order for you to get food, like the next time, you bring back the container, right?
Okay.
And I remember this little boy, I gave him his container, and he immediately started skipping down this little track. And a young boy stopped him. And we also gave them this kind of candy. It's not candy. You get the flour and you make it with sugary, and you make it like a twine. Twirl it.
Okay.
And so that was a little treat. And he broke off a piece and gave a little boy. And the little boy, just to delay the end of it, he would eat it, kind of bite it with his teeth only and savor it, right?
Yes, yes.
And there was a huge abandoned building, about, I'm not good at measurement, like a couple of yards away.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked, where's he going? And so he said, that big abandoned building, that's where him and his grandmother and his family live. And they're all going to share that food. Listen to me, I bawl, I cry.
Oh boy.
I remember I was giving out the food, and the first time they sit on the ground and you kind of give the food out by rows.
Yeah.
And they're very stoic. Asians are stoic. They have no expression on their faces. And I'm crying, and I know they're looking at me like, is what wrong with this Westerner? But it was so emotional. And you go back, as I said, the year after, you see the ladies that you saw the year before who was fresh off the streets, and their demeanor changed, and you're like, oh my God. So yeah, it was awesome. It is awesome, where we would hope to go back this year, but time is flying so much, and COVID is still about.
Yes,
so I don't know if we're gonna get to that, but we're hoping to go back soon.
Okay.
Thailand is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Where we go in Thailand is a place called Phuket, where you remember years ago when the tsunami had wiped out that beachfront?
Yes.
That's where we went. I met a young lady. She's a woman, I guess now, because she's probably in her 40s now, whatever. But she had lost a baby because her baby was young, and they were hanging on to something, her and our grandmother and our mother, and then the baby got washed away, and I think the grandmother died, and you see, but they're a little bit more modernized, because Cambodia, I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Killing Fields, and if anybody who's listening if you have a chance to watch The Killing Fields, it's a real thing. I've gone there where there was a genocide. They killed everybody.
Okay.
So they have a long way to go, but Thailand is more advanced.
Yes.
So where Phuket is like Negril. Phuket is like miles of beach with the little restaurants and the stores, but there's a huge church that we're affiliated with. Even up here on Sundays when we will visit them and they cook and eat at church, So that experience is a little bit different than us going into the jungles of Cambodia where there's still mines and we have to maneuver. We have to have guides that guide us that we don't get blown up. Yeah.
Wow. Yes, that must be something else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Okay. I know when you went on the mission trips, it wasn't about you, it was about the Lord's purpose. But didn't you give them any little taste of your music?
No, I think I did perform in Thailand. Yeah, I think I did a little thing in the church, but in Cambodia, I mean, no, it was really preaching, teaching, fellowship, trying to figure out how to get to these people and get them out of their lifestyle and feed the children, etc.
Yes. Okay. So let's come back now. You told me earlier about the album you're sitting on. So tell us a little bit about that album. What should we expect?
Well, the drummer, he used to be the drummer for Papa Stan, Johnny Clark. His father is a pastor in Jamaica. So we sat down a couple years ago and said, listen, let's just do an album because I have a lot of singles out, including the one you mentioned about your grandmother prayed for me, etc.
Yes.
So I've had some songs over the years, but we're like, okay, let's see if everybody wants me to go back. So I said, all right, and I did an album, and we mixed it the other day, and I was like, all right. So I have a single playing that says "I Speak Life."
Yes.
A radio DJ in New York from Irie Jam, not Irie FM, Irie Jam in New York.
Yes.
I think they just launched another radio station on the bridge. So Dub Master started playing, and he's like, stop playing, Shelly. So I was like, all right, bet, I'm gonna put it out. So I'm, in the process of waiting on a photo shoot to release that single officially, and then I'll drop the EP and see how it goes.
Okay. Yeah, sounds interesting. Yes. Yes, man. So, we are also playing your songs, and our station is heard across the US, Canada, and the UK. So,
awesome.
I need to send you the link so you can tune in too.
Please.
Yes. Okay. So now, Okay, so tell me now, if there is someone who is interested in music, what would you say to them about it? Say a young person coming up in school and the music is drawing them and they feel like neglecting school to go into music and all of that. What would be your advice?
No. That's an interesting, if they're interested in leaving school. I like that. Honestly, hindsight is always 2020,
Yes.
I remember Daddy, when I got a hit song, I never forgot when Coop was number one, and I called my dad excited, I have a number one record. Daddy's response was, so when are you going back to college? And of course I'm like, you go to school to make money. What's the point? But now that I'm mature and, you realize that I could have done both. Yes. I really could have done both. Yes, I have degrees now, but I could have had all the degrees and still. So whenever you don't want to do music again, because it's not even if you're successful or not, right? In my case, I got saved and I was like, I guess we're not doing this anymore. So it's not necessarily you're not making hits or you're not, people don't want to hear you. It can be that you're mature, depending on you just change your mind because you were young at the time, So So I would tell anybody to finish school. Just finish school, because you will always have something to fall on. God bless me. When I say God bless me, I don't have words. You ever hear them say words are not enough to tell you thanks?
Yes.
Words are not enough to tell God thanks, because I told you, I did not finish school. I remember I visited some kind of, at the time, school that was secretarial school, where they would teach you shorthand and typing. Listen to me, that I visited that. And yet when I put on that suit and went to get a job, I literally fell into human resources. And I got the opportunity to climb the ladder. I'm an HR manager now. And yet I had stopped. I would have probably been further, because I'd stopped even working for years at one point. Okay. So, God blessed me to allow me, to do things that wasn't even qualified for.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's His mercy, and I'm not saying He's not going to show you His mercy also, but He bats His eyes at a time of ignorance too. So He probably does say, "Lord, here we go again with Michelle." You know what I mean? It's like, let me just take care of a picnic, because she's not too bright right now. So if you're entering the music, go ahead, follow your passion. I believe people should follow their passion. Yeah, but let's not make the same mistakes the people before us made. So finish your school, do your music, and when you feel like, you either stay with it, or if you don't want to stay with it, or you can't stay with it, you have something to fall back on.
Yes.
Absolutely. And in terms of should you do it, again, I think people should follow their passions, because when you get older, you have all the time in the world to worry about bills and life. God is God. He could have made us born big. You could have been created as an adult.
Yes,
He gives us time to make mistakes, to find out what we want, if we're choosing Him or not, because He does give us choice. And then you have to reach that point where you go, okay, to be an adult.
Yes.
So.
Yes, and I know it's not on the music that people make that mistake with. They do it in sports and other areas too. But you should always follow through on your education.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
absolutely. I can't tell my kids that. I tell them that. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
All right, so
you have to, and it could be in a career also.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you, but it could be in a career also, because sometimes it gets into a career where, maybe your parents wanted you to do it, or you picked it because of economics or whatever it is.
Yes. Yes.
And you realize, I don't like this. But at least you have some kind of experience that can never be taken from you.
Yes.
And then go ahead and pursue what you want. You should pursue what you want, but do it with wisdom.
Yes, indeed. So tell us now, persons who are fans of your music and who may want to contact you, how can they get in touch with you?
You can find me on all of the social networks. I'm on Instagram, The Real Shelly Thunder, because people just borrow my name when they feel like it. So I couldn't get the Shelly Thunder. So I'm The Real Shelly Thunder on Instagram, Shelly Thunder, regular Shelly Thunder on Facebook and Twitter. You can find me, and my numbers are there. So. Okay.
And I guess your songs are on the different platforms for those who may want them.
Yeah, and especially the new album is going to be on that platform for sure.
Okay. Well, it's so wonderful talking with you, Shelly.
Thank you.
Michelle, yes, and it's you really have an interesting story, one that blesses me.
Thank you.
Yes, I especially love the part about the missionary part where you went to these countries, to help to share the gospel. Yes. So, the Lord used music ministers in many different ways. We just, persons just have to keep themselves open to His leading. So we thank you for
absolutely.
Yes, thank you for sharing your story with us, and we hope to keep in touch with you. And when you put out that new EP album, then we will be here to play the songs on it. And I take it there'll be some new tracks on it as well.
All of it is new.
All of it is new. Okay, wow.
The only thing that isn't paying off it is the I Speak Life. That's the only thing that is playing. No, that's from that album. Everything is new.
Okay, so we are looking forward to playing it here as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes, man. Bless you.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yes, it was our pleasure too. Thank you. 24/7
day and night,
24/7
sleeping or awake.
Gospel City 24/7